Everybody, and welcome to b.hive Productions. What's buzzing at the hive? And this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I haven't had the subscribers to do it. YouTube wants 5,000, Facebook wants 1,000, and I'm 28 on YouTube, and I think I got 400 something on Facebook. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to throw money at it because that's how my parents taught me how to deal with things. And I got the software, and here we are. I've done a few of these, but usually solo. But I really wanted to bring other creatives on here and talk about other creatives and stuff. And I am honored to have my friend, fellow author Amy Hallberg with us tonight. How you doing, Amy? I hope you're not hiding. We got let's see. How do we how do we you should just be right on there. I'm pretty sure this is how it worked with oh, here we go. Here we go.
Three,
And
2, 1.
and here she is.
I'm here. I love this idea. Like,
Oh,
oh, you can't do this until you have 1,000 subscribers. How the hell are you supposed to get subscribers until you do the thing? That's what I
right.
want to know.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
bullshit. Am
Yeah.
I allowed to
It is.
swear? Am I allowed to swear?
You totally are allowed to swear. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
We just can't talk about hurting people.
Oh,
So,
no, I
and I
don't.
know I
I
know
don't
our
believe in that.
conversations always go that way, but
Yeah,
you
I
know.
don't believe in hurting people. So thanks for having me, Brad, and congratulations on doing this. This is great. I am so
Oh, thank
excited.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you got me into the podcasting, Amy.
It's true.
So
If you
you
there are a
did.
couple episodes there. What do we have, like 3 of them or something? There's a few
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah,
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
yeah.
So we have a Sandy Anderson. I
Technical
remember Amy.
difficulties. Yes, technical difficulties are delightful. I
Right.
mean, well, you
So
learn from them, right?
right. So just to inform everybody, this is the first time I've used the software, and Amy agreed to be my guinea pig guest tonight. So very much appreciate that. So why don't we tell everybody how you and I know each other?
4th grade.
Fourth grade.
4th grade,
And
Miss Sink's
eh,
class.
and I had the wonderful hot dog recipe in the class recipe book.
But I loved that. I mean, so I told you this, and I think you thought like, "Oh my gosh, I did the hot dog," but no, like, I love this because we were supposed to talk about our origins, like our native origins, and you're like, "Well, I'm American. Hot dog's American." And I was like, "Oh," like, like, it just gave me a
Oh,
different way to think about things, you know?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
we aren't all from Europe, right?
Right. Yeah, we're all Americans. I mean, what did we know in fourth grade? Fourth grade, we just knew we were
I loved
in
that. I
Minnesota.
loved that so much that I remembered it and, like, years later told you, so
Yeah, and I forgot it. And I actually think I have that cookbook.
do you? Ooh, don't
Yes,
don't
I
show
have
anybody.
this I have this little metal keepsake box, and I was going through it, and I think I saw it in there. Didn't it have like a picture of the Earth and a little Ziggy cartoon, and it said "It's a Small World" or something at
Did
Westwood
it? See, no,
Elementary?
I don't remember that at all. I don't remember.
So,
Oh, no. I don't
huh?
save things from our childhood because they're embarrassing. I just write about them.
Speaking of which,
Mm.
I've had a couple of classmates say you should feel lucky that we didn't have cell phones when we were in school because during the gymnastics lesson in Fayed, I could have made Fail Army. I could have been on Fail Army and just really raked in the cash.
Ye I thank the good Lord or whoever the universe and all the powers that be that we didn't have cell phones back then because Going through school was really hard without also adding social, like, and I love social media. Look at us connecting with people, but I think it would have been brutal growing up with it, with the internet.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like the kid like kids nowadays, it's an added stress, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And I couldn't imagine, I got bullied, you got bullied. I couldn't imagine that being
But can we talk
worldwide.
about that a minute? Can we talk about that?
Sure.
So, I meet people all the time. I know this is about writing, and I teach people to write, and I help people to write, and people helped me to write, you know? I meet people all the time who don't wanna tell those stories of being bullied or feeling like an outsider or whatever, and
Right.
one of the things that you and I know, we've talked about this a lot, is that when you tell those stories, I mean, first you have to tell them for yourself so they're not, like, incredibly painful and re-traumatizing you, right? But when you tell those stories, you start to find out you're not even close to the only person who's feeling those ways, you know, and
Right.
so the stories, I mean, and you and I have talked about this, and I keep telling you, keep writing those books. They're really important because people need to know they're not alone. And I didn't know you were bullied. I only knew I was bullied, and I was pretty sure that everybody all watched by and watched it happen, and it sucked. But I didn't know, like, no, you were bullied. I was bullied, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think everybody kind of there's a story, and I actually put it in the book I'm writing now.
which one,
Um
the fiction or the nonfiction?
well, it's kind of a mix of both. It's
Okay.
the road story.
Yeah, which is real life based fiction.
Right.
Right.
And it's when I was I don't know, I must have been about 4 or 5, was growing up in New York, and there was this kid that used to bully me all the time. He'd punch me in the nose, break my nose, and I had a little Batman pedal car.
Batman pedal car. That's awesome.
and he and he knocked me out of it and took it from me, and I went in crying, and my nose is bleeding, and my mom cleaned me up, and she went into my closet and handed me my Louisville Slugger. And I'm like, "What do you want me to do with this?" She goes, "You go out there and you use it on that boy." And I'm like, "But you always taught me to turn the other cheek." And she said, "Sometimes you got to fight."
Ooh, that's like
And
The Gambler. No, not The
right?
Gambler. What was the it wasn't The
Uh
Gambler, but the other Kenny Rogers song, you know?
Coward of the County, yeah.
That one, Coward of the County.
Yeah. So I said, "Well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to hurt him." And she pulled my dad's belt off, and she said, "Use that bat on him. We're going to use this belt on you." So I went out there and I cracked him over the head with it.
That is such a 1970s story.
Right?
That
And
would never
needless
happen today.
no. And needless to say, he never bullied me again.
Did he give you back the did he give it back to you, the toy that he stole?
Yes. Yes. And I was literally the Batman.
Oh my god.
So so the play on
That's
words.
a horrible story. This is why you write horror, okay?
This is why I write horror, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
anyhow, so what did I wanted to talk about how, like, you graduated high school, I graduated high school, I went this way, you went that way.
Mhm.
We really didn't hook up until I think it was when I got cancer. You reached out to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I mean, I had been
And
sort of like I'd seen you on Facebook, you were starring in Shrek and doing some other things, and I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." You know? But yeah, when you had cancer and I was following that and I was like, "Dude, we need to be friends, and you need to write about this, and you need to not die,
right.
and if you know, like, I was like, "Hi, hey, hi," you know, which I would never have done. I mean, like, I don't think you and I were not friends in high school, it's not that, it's just I would never have reached out as a high schooler and been, like, to some guy in my class that I didn't really know that well and been like, "Hi, we need to be friends." I would never do that, you know?
Right. Well, it was different.
Mhm.
It's different reaching out to somebody now as
Mhm.
adults, and we've lived our lives and stuff. I mean, we're still living them,
Mhm.
but I mean, we've gotten hit in the
It's
face with
called
the
midlife, though, midlife.
right,
That's like we're there. We're
right,
past there. I'm not
yeah.
living to
So
108. I don't know about you.
I don't. I really didn't want to go past 50, but here I am. So
So glad you did.
I know I got books to write,
You do.
but yes.
2 of them then counting.
So you didn't just hop out of high school and started writing a book.
No, and that was my plan, right? So, I had gone to Germany as an exchange student, and it was 2000, no, it wasn't 2000, we're not that young. It was 1987, and there was a Berlin Wall was still up.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so I went to West Germany, and I went to see the Berlin Wall, and then I saw it from the west side, which was the good side, and I saw it from the east side, which was the bad side. Um, and, I saw Ronald Reagan give his speech, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall," which was just, I mean, you know,
That would have been awesome. That
right.
really would have. Yeah.
I watched it on East German TV, and then I came back to our hometown, and like there was graduation, and I just was like, "Ooh, I want to give a speech." And I wrote a speech, and you have to understand that, like, I don't do well with, like, outlines and, like, what is the thesis and stuff, right? Like, I have a thing to write, and that's when I write it. Like, I'm like, "Ooh, I feel inspired," I write, right?
Right.
No out like, I can go back and outline it later or, edit, whatever. So I gave this speech, and it was all about, like, the wall must fall, and, like, um the wall was not just the wall in Germany when I'm like, "That's never gonna fall. That will never fall." But the walls in our lives that we keep ourselves, walled
Oh,
off from
right.
people, like, that
Yeah,
must
yeah.
fall. And I didn't even know this, but, like, it literally happened, like, within days of the anniversary of the Reagan speech even. Like, I was like, "Oh, look at that." Like, I'm gonna write a book about Germany and how, we should not be like Germany, blah de blah. And
Hmm.
then the wall fell down, and I was like, "Well, what am I gonna write about now?" Like, "War's over, it's done."
Right.
So right, and so I went on to become a German major, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'm never gonna write a book." And I became a German teacher, you know? And then, like, late in my teaching career, things got really, really hard, and I started writing because well, 2 reasons. Like, a friend asked me to take a class at the Loft, and I was like, "I must write." Like, I was like, "I must do this." I was 40 years
Right.
old. And then, like, my job got so demanding that I was like, "Well, hell, if I have no time anyway, then at least some of the time I don't have, I am going to reserve by taking writing classes." Like, I will deprive myself of some time since they're taking it all anyway, and they don't pay teachers nearly enough, and so, like, as my teaching career was falling apart, I was writing this book, and it was this big behemoth of a book. And then finally I was just like, "You had your cancer scare. I had some pretty significant health scares of my own." My shoulder was frozen. I literally could not write on the board. Like,
Mm.
my body was like, "Quit this job," or my body was just, like, failing me in all sorts of weird, quirky ways, and so I quit my job in the middle of the year, January 2016, and I had no excuse to tell people why I was leaving, so I was like, "Well, I'm leaving because I gotta finish my book." Like, so that's what I did, and,
Which is a totally cool story. Cause like,
right?
who wouldn't wanna quit their job and go write a book?
Yeah, I mean, well, I felt like I should probably have some kind of a career or thing in place or something, I don't know, and because I was kind of a mess, I also signed up for life coach training because I was like, "Well, I'll heal and get myself a career." And it turns out and then, long story short, the book subdivided. I wrote 2 books out of that whole behemoth. But it turns out that life coach training is really useful because when you're telling a story, what happens to a person is they go through, like, change,
Mhm.
right? And so life coach training is kind of like looking at people going through change and how are you going to adjust to that, and people, they grow, they learn, they etc., right? So, so it turns out life coach training is really great for book writing. So,
Hence the story coach.
hence I am now a story coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now here's the other thing, and I think you can attest to this. When you are writing something really personal, close to the bone, it's freaking scary. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It
Yep.
triggers all the stuff.
Yeah, yeah. The current novel I'm working on now, I have to step away and breathe for a little bit and say, I'm not there anymore. I'm not there anymore. And then I can
Do
get
some
back into it.
tapping.
Yeah. Yeah. Curl into a ball and suck my thumb for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I was thinking about this because what I've been doing the last couple days and like what I did pretty much all day today was um recording my audiobook of my second book,
Oh,
which is about quitting my teaching job. And so there and losing like a bunch of relatives, which I know you write about death too, right?
right.
And so it's like, oh my gosh, like, like it's written like it's far enough away that I was able to write it in a way that it is for my readers. But still reading the story about my grandma's death aloud, and I'm still like, I feel sorry for the guy who's gonna edit the files because I'm still like,
Mm.
just give me a moment.
Oh,
But you know what I mean? Like it's in your
yeah.
body. It's in your body.
Yeah. Well, it's like what is that? EDMR therapy?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that what
yeah,
it's called?
yeah. EMDR, yeah,
I
yeah.
I I feel like writing is that.
Oh, it runs it through you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
Mhm.
the advantage we have is we're the author, the gods and goddesses that are controlling that word, that world that we write. And
Right.
even though we put that painful stuff in there, we can like, oh, well, I'm walking away from you. I'm going to close it for a while and
And
then
we
come
get
back
to
to him.
choose how we have to know, you and I have had long conversations about what's the motivation going on here, what's the underlying stuff. We have to know that, but we get to choose which details we want to share, right? Like
Right.
we get to reframe the story. So like, there's some pretty painful things that happen in my book, but because I worked my way through them and I processed them and I shaped how I told them, those are some of the chapters that people have thanked me for writing, you know?
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
Like,
There's especially this last book that you've written,
oh,
Tiny Altars. There it
tiny
is.
altars with the
Tiny Altars.
dollhouse.
Yes. Um, there's some things in there that have really helped me look at things a little differently, you know?
Mm, that
Because
makes that makes me feel really good.
yeah, it's I was just I like I would read it and I'd be like, damn. Okay. All right. Um, but it's a really good way of going through those processes with you that you were going through in that book.
Mhm.
It helped me process some of my stuff.
That makes me really happy. That
Because
makes
I
me
I
really
was because after you publish this, I was still writing, and I still am
mm,
writing, the Broken Bird novel.
yeah.
This was like my little comfort thing here.
Oh.
I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's
Which is interesting, right? Because as I'm reading it and I'm like, there's part of me that's like, damn, that turned out okay. And there's another
yeah.
part being like, oh my gosh, I sound so incredibly like sad and whiny and like that the trolls come in, like, so it's helpful to hear from people like, no, you're good, you know. I mean, so this book, German Awakening, this is like the book I would have written if I dropped out of I went to German PhD school and then was like, nah, that's not for me, and I dropped out. So this is like the PhD thesis that I would have written if they would let you just, like I didn't get the PhD, I just wrote the book that I wanted to
Ah,
write,
there you go. There
right?
you go.
This is like the compilation. Yeah, see, it doesn't you're right. It's interesting. It doesn't show up nicely in the light, but it's pretty.
It
Um,
doesn't. It's yeah.
I would say this is like there is no life coach thesis, but I would say this is like all the stuff I learned in life coach training in a book, you know?
I could see that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I So speaking of life coaching,
Mm,
the last conversation we had, um, I think we were in Jordan at the tap,
this is where we go.
and we were talking about how um, I've dealt a lot with death, and I've
Mhm,
shaken hands with death a few times,
mhm,
and there was a reason behind that. And then you had talked about being a story coach, being a life
mhm,
coach, and
mhm,
how you've aided people. And I'm like, I wonder if there was like something like that that I could do as a career. And I was talking to a friend of mine who works in a nursing home, and she
mm,
goes, "Well, she goes, they have birth doulas, but they also have death doulas."
mm,
And I go,
mhm,
"What?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's not as popular, but it's getting popular. You should really
mhm.
get into that." So I've been looking into getting into that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Well, what makes you well suited to it other than that you just have an enormous you have a really big heart, Brad, and I I I don't say anything to you that I wouldn't say, like, to any like, I just get all verklempt thinking about it. You have this really big heart, right? But also, when we go through hard times like death, the Bible verse, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil."
mhm,
People who haven't experienced significant loss and made it through are kind of afraid of it. Like
yeah,
people who haven't been through death don't know the right things to say, don't like people who haven't really stared death in the eye. It's almost like I don't want to catch what you have. I mean, it's almost that phrase like there, but for the grace of God go I. Well, no, it's not really about the grace of God because God being a loving God, one would presume loves all the people, and yet some people go through these things and some people do not,
right,
right? Whereas, so I mean, I think one of the things and one of the ways that you and I have connected is, I mean, when I quit my job, it was really traumatic for me. It was really traumatic for me. When you lost your mom, when you went through cancer, when you went through some of those things, it was really traumatic for you. But you're still here. I'm still here. And so we're not afraid of people who have been through bad things, right? We
right,
and in fact, you and I have talked about this, and I don't want to get all religious and whatever, but I think you and I were both raised Christian, right? One of the things that makes me really, really angry is when the church can't be there for people like that. To me, that's a sacred calling. When people are going through those hard things, that to me is sacred and it's a calling and it is God's work. Whatever you want to call God, however you conceptualize the divine,
mhm,
being there with people, going through those hard things with them. It's
right,
it's really big deal. And it's a blessing, like the fact that you have been willing to share those stories with me. You probably don't go out and tell them to everybody because everybody doesn't wanna hear them. I
right.
get to hear those stories, and that's everything, you know?
I read
That's why you and I have gotten to be such good friends is we've gone deep. We've
yeah,
gone
yeah,
deep,
we talk
right?
about that stuff. Yeah.
Mhm,
I was reading an article, and I've shared it with a few people that were trying to cope with loss, and
mhm.
they were atheists, so they kind of were like, "Oh shit, I don't, I'm kind of scared of the great beyond or whatever."
Mhm.
And the article I read was it was saying that they should not have clergy or Christians, religious people at funerals because they always say the wrong things. What they should have is they should have physicists. And the article was death through a physicist's eyes.
Because
And
matter is neither created nor destroyed. It
right,
just changes form.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Energy never dies. It just
And
keeps going.
somewhere between those 2 things is gotta be some kind of that it is both. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, yeah, I left a church because they were talking all about being saved, and I'm like, "Well, my grandpa's the most spiritual person I ever knew, and he doesn't go to church, so
Right.
And I
Yeah.
was
So
just like,
I
"Sorry, can't do that now. Bye."
yeah, I'll have to send you a copy of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
article. It's really good. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
yeah.
I do hope you think about that because, I mean, you and I have talked about this for a long time, and I know that A, you have books to write, but B, you have work to do with people. I really believe that, you know? So
Yeah. It's just I'm getting to that age where people make me grumpy. So,
Well, but you get to choose, right? When I taught high school, I had to teach everybody who came through the classroom, and I believe that that's okay, right? That's right. That's as it
right.
should be. But I did that for 20 and a half years, and now I work with the people who want to work with me. And that is the blessing of I'm not making anybody do anything. I'm not like, "Here, you must," like, I'll be like, "Brad, you gotta write the book." But also, I have your permission to browbeat you.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So,
Right? I'm not
well,
like if you were like, "Amy, go away," and I'd be like, "Okay, love you, Brad,
okay.
bye."
I'll
I
talk to you
wouldn't
tomorrow.
see ya.
Are you writing? Are you writing right now?
Just to be clear, I don't do that, but
Right. No, but when we do talk, I mean, we do talk. You're like,
Mhm,
okay, so what are you doing? And we go
mhm,
from there, and you tell me what you're doing.
mhm.
And speaking of doing stuff, we have a writers retreat coming up
Ooh,
that
and
you're
I'm
throwing.
super oh my gosh, this place. Somebody I don't even know how this happened exactly. Like, I wrote my book, and then somebody read it, and then somebody sent it to the director of this place, and the director's like, "Let's talk." And next thing you know, I'm, like, leading a retreat there. And this place is excuse me, I'm getting verklempt. This place is amazing. So this place is this pristine woods in it's like an hour outside of the Twin Cities, and it's just gorgeous, and you go there and you just feel nature. You just feel like it's so grounding, which is exactly what you need because when we're writing, it's like, I don't know what I wanna write, or I do know, but then my brain starts working like, "I can't write that," like, "Ugh," right? And the outside world comes in. Um, when you can step outside of your normal world and you just go to somewhere that speaks to you, and you can just kind of be there and have enough time to be there. And, like, we'll turn off our phones will be there, but we'll turn them off, you
Right.
know, and we'll connect and we'll share, and then we'll be like, "Okay, bye." And then we'll kinda go off and see what nature has to say, come back. And I think the really important thing, and I feel so strongly about this, Brad, and you know this, your story is your story. It's nobody else's. So it's like people can share compassionate witness to the story. They can be like, "Hey, here's what I see there." But we're each writing our own story and we're all staying in our own lane, which is not how it works in the real world. In the real world, people are like, "Hey, you missed a period there. You missed a comma. You spelled that
Yeah,
wrong."
right.
Like, "Oh, I wouldn't write about that thing." Like people have opinions. We need to create space for ourselves to just be in the writing and let the writing speak to us and tell us what we don't know and maybe what, like we have our own gatekeepers right inside our head. What are the stories that we want to be telling that we haven't given ourselves permission to tell?
Right. Well, I think and I've run into this from time to time is I get really down on myself and I'm just like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere with my writing. I'm not going anywhere with this
Mhm,
online streaming
mhm,
stuff, blah blah blah. I should just
mhm,
stop." Or I play music on Tuesday nights and I'm just like, "Oh, I sounded terrible. I can't do
mhm,
this. I'm going to throw this out."
mhm.
Stephanie is just like she's like, "Shut up." And
Go,
some
Stephanie.
sometimes she flips me off and it
Good.
makes me laugh because she's so feisty, but
But you need those people.
yeah.
You
And
need those people.
my so I my therapist had said to me, he said, he goes, "Even though you're writing, but you're not publishing anything, are you still a writer?" Well, yeah,
Writers, write.
right.
Verb, noun.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm.
and I have to keep reminding myself of that, is that like I'm not writing these. Am I writing these stories for you guys? Absolutely I am. And I
Eventually,
yeah,
eventually, but first they get to be yours.
yeah. And it's
Mhm.
they're just it's shit in my head that has to be out there, you know? Like, "Hey, I'm gonna just bother you all night so that you can't sleep until you put me on the page." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, fine."
Well, and
You
if we
know?
only wrote happy stuff, I always like this example. One day, I decided to go to the store and buy ice cream. I got in my car, went to the store, bought ice cream, came home, ate the ice cream, the end. Ain't that a great story? Like, everything was just happy and good. Oh, the ice cream tasted good too. That's a stupid story. The story what makes a good story is that we go to the shadows, we go to the lights, we see the contrast. Things
Right,
don't turn out the way we wanted to, but they turn out better, or they turn out worse, but we make our way through them. Like, that's what makes a good story, is not the stuff that our brain wants to protect us and keep us only writing happy stuff, right?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not a good story. That's a bad story.
My,
Not that there's good and bad, but like a story where nothing happens, I mean, it's not a bad story, it's just a boring story. Like, why are you telling the story?
right? Have you gotten that, Facebook ad? Because there's algorithms for
Right,
ads,
right.
and if
So,
you're talking about writing or whatever, I always get these writing ones, writing class this, writing class that, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
I got one that really, really pissed me off. It was
Okay.
a guy going, "Yeah, I'm making this much money a month, and I don't even write a single sentence." The guy's like publishing AI books like crazy.
Yeah, okay, but they're shitty books. There's no
Eh,
soul to them.
Well, they're shitty books, and he's not really selling that many.
Well, okay, that
But
too. But I mean, so part of the deal is that people want to read books that are connecting us to real people, you know?
absolutely, yeah. Yep. I
I
mean,
mean,
so
like I like one of the lovely things about social media is that some of the people I know have been reading my books and then like they'll quote me back to me. Like,
yeah,
and they've had this lovely timing where it happens where I've just started to go, well, maybe I should give up and stop and blah blah blah. But it's kind of like, like I planted these little seeds and I put the dirt over the top and I watered it and I haven't seen a tree there yet. So I might as well quit.
yeah.
Right? Like, you don't see the actual these 2 books I started writing in, 20 what year did we turn 40?
20
10?
oh, now you're gonna make me think. 2010, yeah.
Yeah. I my friend, when I turned 40, was like, "Hey, let's take a write" so 2010, right? Okay, now it is 20 and I didn't really start writing for real until a year after that. So 20 to 12 years to publish 2 books, you know? And you can write faster. People write faster books, but I guess
That's I mean,
what are
that's
you
my
trying to do with that book?
yeah, like well, like my horror stories. My horror stories are it's one to exercise my writing, you
Right,
know, my writing
right.
skills. Two, exercising demons, getting nightmares on
Mhm,
paper. The
mhm.
original reason why I started writing horror was because of the movie Dreamscape. Do
Okay,
you remember
which
that movie?
no, I would never watch that
Okay.
movie. It's a horror
Had
movie,
Dennis
right?
had Dennis Quaid in it,
Okay.
and he had to go to the institute. The president was there, and he was having nightmares, and they had this technology where they could hook you up to this machine, and your dreams would be recorded, and you could jump into another person's dream and help them through it.
Oh god, that's I don't know, is that good or horrible?
It was really horrible in the movie
Okay.
because holy cow. But I was thinking to myself when that came out,
Mhm,
and I must have been 14,
mhm.
was oh my god, it would be so awesome to video record some of my nightmares because they would make really awesome horror movies. So until that technology exists, I'm gonna just start writing horror stories until that comes out. And those horror stories were
Right.
always my dreams that I had. Um, but yeah,
And I
I mean,
bet did you write those pretty fast?
yes.
But
The
but but basically that's just getting them onto the page. It's not processing the mean like the other books you're doing, yes, you're purging both
Yeah,
of them, but
right,
very different purpose of those books, right? Those books are lovingly crafted and you have this narrative arc. It's a different thing doing memoir or life-based fiction versus just putting the dream on the page. They're both they're
right.
both they're both valid and worthy and interesting, different audience. I don't, I've apologized to you many times, like, I'm sorry, Brad, but I just don't do horror because I can't put that
Oh
in my
yeah,
brain,
yeah.
right?
I
But yeah, so there are lots of ways to be writers, and you don't have to be writer like, you don't have to write memoir. You don't have to
right,
write stuff that's really, really emotionally big unless it's inside of you and that's what you really feel called to do. And yeah, you do have to because you decide that you have to, you
right.
know,
Well,
and it's a choice.
I wrote the emotional true stuff in
Mhm.
high school,
Mm,
in creative writing class.
mhm,
And it was when Mrs. Otteson, I don't know if you remember her,
mhm.
she was my creative writing teacher, and she's like, okay, write something about something that you've experienced. And I'm like, okay. So of course I go to like one of the most negative things that happened to me, and I start
Mhm.
writing it out. I'm like, can I swear? And she's like, if it's relevant to the story, yes. I'm like, sweet.
Permission to swear.
Yeah. I'm like, "Dee-dee-dee." Yeah. So yeah, she had seen a few of those stories. She's like, wow, you should do a book sometime. So, and that always kind of got me kicked into doing the broken bird story and the mom story. And yeah,
And, somebody tells us that, and, like, it makes such a difference. Like, somebody sees and goes, "No, you should do that." "W really?" I mean, I could list you the examples of people who have told me, "No, you should be writing." "Oh, okay." Like, okay. But even so, like, we have to give ourselves permission, but it really helps to have somebody who and they're not just being nice and, "Oh, sweetie, you could do it because," or whatever, right? But,
mm,
like, "What you're saying actually impacts me, and here's how that impacts me." Like, that makes a difference, I
right.
think. So,
I
part of the reason that we need writing partners or we go on retreat or anything else is just to have somebody sort of go, "No, that is a real thing. What you're talking about is an actual, honest to God, real thing. Keep going." You know?
right. Yeah. So I don't know. I always love it when you get those people that say, "Hey, you should write a book about," and then they give you their idea, and it's like,
Insert the ideas here.
it's like, no, you should write the book about blah blah. Well, I don't know how to write. I said, yeah, I don't either, but I do.
That's great, but I'm not taking assignments.
Yeah, right. And it's that's your vision and that's your story to tell, not mine.
I have a friend, well, former student, but at this point, friend, who is a ghostwriter, and she charges good prices, and if you would like, she would be happy to write your book for you.
Oh wow, yeah, that might be. Yeah,
Do you know what I
I got
mean?
two
Like,
more.
if you
Yeah,
wanna be going assigning people, like but no, people like you and me, we got stuff in us to write. We got so much stuff of our own to write that we don't have time to write someone else's stories,
right. Yeah,
and at 50, whatever the heck our age is, um, I just keep, like, hinting at it.
29,
I'm not
29.
29. I am not 29. I'm not going back and redoing them years. Um, no. Um, we have a certain amount of time on Earth, and we have a certain amount of writing that we have to put out there.
Right.
I mean, we
Yeah.
don't have to, but and when I work with writers, one of the things I'm really clear on is your voice. What is your voice? Not the voice you've trained yourself to do, not the voice that you think you should be saying. What is the actual real voice in you that you want to hone because you're the only person who can speak that way? You're the only person who can write that way. And if you don't do it, who else is going to? If
Right.
you want to write. If you don't want to write, don't. Then do something else. That's fine. But but I mean, I think about this. I don't know. I don't know what it is to be a Maori immigrant, right? But through you and hearing stories about your mom and grounding yourself, really fully grounding them in there. First of all, I'm learning about you and your mom and your family and your humanity in that sense, right? And
Right.
then if you do a good job of it by being really, really grounded in your stuff, that's when I look at it and I say, I mean, like you said, my story has nothing to do with what you've gone through in life, but you're reading my book and you're taking example from it
Mhm. Right.
because I'm writing my story and I'm not hiding, I'm not lying, I'm speaking my energetic truth. I'm showing up with the uh, I'm trying to show up with as much what dignity is not the word, alignment. I'm trying to be energetically true in what I tell you.
Right.
And that speaks to you, right?
Mhm.
Like you didn't teach high school for 20 years. I mean, I guess, you worked in a school, right? But you never taught German and then Spanish and like you didn't have my life journey, but you can relate to it because I didn't go, well, my friend Brad, what will he think about this? I'm not
Right.
thinking about what you think or trying to make my life more like yours, you know?
Yep.
I'm
You
writing my stuff, and that's why people want to read it. That's,
right. They
right?
were
So,
writing your story.
yeah, I'm
Your
seeing this
story.
comment here from Sarah Boddicker. Do what makes you happy, forget everyone else.
Yeah, that's my
Yep.
sister. Yeah, my little
Right.
sister.
Write your own story.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I see Dane's is out. That's Brian's
Oh,
sister. So
I
hi,
I went
Diane.
to reading class with Brian in kindergarten.
Did you?
I did.
And he still can't read. So
It's not true.
Joanne
We were
stopped in.
we were prodigies. No child. What do you is that what the little children who are like ahead of their time or whatever?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
prodigies.
yeah, like, so
Yeah.
back then they were like, "Oh, you're so smart," and then it turns out, no, we were just all watching Electric Company on TV.
Oh, what was that? When I was in elementary, it was like an advanced reading class.
Mhm.
What was that, junior books? Was that what it was called?
Junior Great Books,
Yes. Yeah, I
and
think
what
that's
they
what it
had, like,
was.
Vonnegut and no, did they
Yeah.
have Vonnegut?
They had Vonnegut and,
Ray Bradbury.
Ray Bradbury. Yeah,
I don't
and that's
remember
how I
who
got
else, but
into all that stuff.
I definitely remember reading a couple of those guys. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Salinger was in there, and, yeah, it was
Have you ever read John Cheever?
no.
See, that's something that, like, I'm surprised I've read and you haven't because it's a very Brad sort of thing, but it's so good because
It's a very Brad sort of thing.
well, I mean, you talk about Kerouac and,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So John
Bukowski.
Cheever writes these great stories where it's like there's the surface of the people and then there's all the stuff leaking through that they're trying to hide, but their character traits come through. And it's just really it's good stuff. They're great short stories to study if you want to be a writer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
Yeah, my
check them out.
cousin
I got
turned me
them.
on to them.
I got them written down, so I'll have
John
to
Cheever.
hop on
Yeah.
Amazon and check it out, so
Yep.
but, yeah. So, excited for the retreat,
Yes.
so that should
Yeah.
be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm super
I've
excited about that. Yeah.
I've got, I think I've got see, next weekend, I'm gonna go see my I get to meet my youngest grandchild who was born
A
at the
little bit
beginning
ago.
of the
Yeah.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get to meet her for the first time,
Oh, sweet.
and I'm spending about 4 days with them, and then, the weekend after that, I think it's on that Monday, isn't it? The 6th?
It's a Monday the 8th. It's Monday the
On the
8th, and
8th.
there are
On the
spots,
8th.
yeah. Brad is signed up, so if you wanna come right with Brad,
Yeah,
um,
sign
yeah.
up.
Yeah,
I have, I have the, link to your website on the Facebook page
okay, I
on
should
this
check
here.
yeah, I should check to make sure I've actually linked it there.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and somebody told me that that is actually the day of the big solar eclipse.
Oh,
So, yeah, so if you're an astrology person, then, you know, the energy will be, what, auspicious that day.
Well, hopefully, it's not opening up any thin spots, and then something comes across.
Yeah, no, no,
Sorry,
no,
that's
no.
the horror author in me thinking that stuff.
Oh, I've seen Stranger Things. Yes, I have seen Stranger Things, which, now that I confess that, I think I should probably, like, go read some of your books, Brad, but, make it
So,
into
so,
a movie and I'll watch it.
so what have you got going on in your future as far as you got another book coming?
Do I? Yeah, yeah. Um, Interesting. I know what the name of the next book is, but I can't write it, and the reason I can't write it is because I still have to do this audiobook.
Oh,
So, I'm like I calculated it out. I'm 81% done reading the audiobook,
okay.
and then the next book is going to be called, I don't know if I wanna I don't know if I wanna reveal the name here. I'm gonna be a little circumspect here. That's the thing
Okay.
we get to do, right?
Right.
But one of the things I think about, and you and I have talked about this, is how we as Gen X, like, first of all, we technically don't exist, as everybody
Right.
knows, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're like Sasquatch.
We're cryptids.
Don't mess with us, we raised ourselves.
Right.
So, so we, I think, are here, a lot of us, recognizing patterns, recognizing ancestral trauma, recognizing, um, curses. And at midlife, I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I have served my biological imperatives to society, right? Like, I've had the kids and raised the kids
Right.
and done the things, right? And now I'm at this place where it's like, I don't know, I've checked the boxes and now I get to really look at, and this is the work that, every time you and I get together, and the friends that I'm closest to, we're looking at, okay, what did we grow up into and what do we want, how do we want to heal ourselves, and how do we want to shape this differently? We can't fix our kids. They're doing their own things. They are so they're light years away from what we're doing,
Right.
right? And we can't take care of our parents. They had their journeys, but we, the generation that exists not at all or whatever, we have our work to do. And so I feel like my first book, my second book, was more contextualized in sort of my journey, and now it's like, okay, well, I don't know, is this even making sense the way I'm describing it?
Yeah. So, you know what? Have you read any of the Rabbit series?
John Updike, no.
Yes. So, I mean, it follows Rabbit through his life, through,
Right.
his younger years, his middle life, and
Rabbit
then
Redux, there's a
yeah,
book there called, I mean, I know the title, Rabbit Redux, yep.
yeah. So, I loved those books. Love that
Mhm.
series of books, but I hated the character. The guy was just a jerk. He was a jerk his whole life, you know? He's got like all these illegitimate children. He beat his wife, blah, blah, blah.
So, basically, you love to hate the guy.
Yeah. So in reading, like when I've read both your books, um, I try not to look at it as, oh, this is my friend Amy. This is just an author that I picked up and I'm reading her story.
Mhm,
And I tried to just remove myself from how I know you and just read this as a character, you know?
mhm, mhm,
And German Awakening and Tiny Altars is like kind of it gives me the same feelings that the Rabbit Run series did.
mm,
Except
mhm.
for I love to love the character. You know, you're the likable character. You're not out, being Bukowski or whatever. You're just being Amy, and you're kind of trudging along, and you're getting hit in the face with a few things, but you keep moving, and yeah. So
And I would say, I mean, thank you, thank you. I receive all that. Thank you. I would say this last book, well, it may not be my last book, but it feels like it's a trilogy. There's sort of archetypes, like there's the young thing, there's the mother, there's the crone, and
Mhm.
this is the crone, and who do we turn to? We turn to each other in our generation, and we start creating like, we're each other's family now, you know?
Right.
Like
Well, I
like,
think
"You're
our
my family, Brad," you know?
yeah. Well, I think our generation really looks that way towards our friends as our family, our adopted family, you know?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and it's, I don't know, it's just how we coped.
Right, and I mean, it's interesting for me because when I quit my teaching job, I lost my entire social network, right? Because when you're a teacher, that's like those are your people are the teachers, right? And I walked
Right.
away and I'm like, "Okay, you know what? Like, you guys are doing that thing and, like, you know, while my career was falling apart, y'all were fine." So, like,
Right.
right? And so my social network now is people from my past that I have chosen to bring into my life. And like it was shocking to me how many people came back into my life to say, "Hey, I see you. I see you. Let me remind you of who you are. You're more than this system squashed you down and it didn't fit. I see who you are." Right? And new people who are doing that same kind of thing. And so that's what I feel like my work is as a writer is, "Hey, let me show you how I started to see who I was devoid of all of those things that were put onto me and systems that aren't meant to serve people, right? In those
Right.
systems, people serve the systems and not the other way around, right?
Right.
And the antidote is all of us looking around going, "Hey, I see you. Let me tell you who I see. And this is what I love about you." That's what we're doing. And like, I can't imagine in high school going like, "Hey, Brad, I love you." No, I would not
Yeah.
like, I'd be like, "Oh my god," like, "Ah," you know, like, I mean, like, I'd have been like, "Don't talk to Brad, he might think you like him." Or do you know what I mean? Like, it would have
Right,
been like,
yeah.
ugh, and now it's like, "No, I want to connect with people and all of us to be fully grounded into who we are and to get to appreciate that," you know? That's
Yeah,
what
and
I
just
want us to be
just
doing.
be okay. Yeah, just be okay with it. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. You do you, and that's good.
Right, yeah.
So,
And that's kind of been the basis of anytime anybody comes to ask me for advice or whatever because 'cause they're dealing with something. I mean, I usually say, "Just do you. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Just do you. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, try something
but
different."
and I would add to that, so what I do when I'm working with writers, and I think you do this too, is it's not just, "Hey, you do you and I'll just be over here." It's, "Hey, I see you. Can I offer you some perspective to help you see yourself better?" And maybe I offer you something and I say, "Hey, Brad, here's what I'm observing, but is this actually true for you?" So it's not just sort of this benign, like, we'll all stay in our nice little picket fences and stay away from each other.
Right,
Right?
yeah.
But it's also not, let me tell you what you should be writing, Brad. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's it's let me appreciate what I'm seeing in you and you tell me if that actually feels right.
Yeah, this is what I'm reflecting. So, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, one of our guests here, Sandy Anderson. It's,
Oh yeah.
Colette Anderson's mom.
Yes, yes, I love Colette. How is she
So,
doing? I
she's doing
yeah.
really well, actually, last I
Yeah?
heard.
I haven't
Um,
seen her since graduation, I don't think.
oh, says, "I've enjoyed listening to both of you. Interestingly, I'm a parent who still has a journey in me, stories to share. Life has
Mhm.
many seasons. My mentor is my 93-year-old neighbor who is so actively involved in our community." That's
In
awesome.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
That's
Thanks for
awesome.
being here, Sandy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's super nice, and she bakes.
Sandy or Colette?
Sandy.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a great baker. She'll, nice to hang out with the pool players in town here. Her son, he would always bring in treats from her. So,
Nice.
yeah, and then
Nice.
that's why I'm packing in the winter weight that I have. So, anyway, I should wrap it up here, but
Yeah, thank you so much
thank
for
you.
having me, Brad.
Thank you for coming out. This is awesome. I'm glad we got to have a talk again, and I'll get to
Mhm.
see you in a couple
April
of
8th.
weeks.
April
Yeah.
8th, Minnesota Woods. Yeah. Sandy, you should come. I'm not kidding. You should come. It would be really lovely to have you there. And the woods are just this beautiful place to like pick up the stories. They come to you and you're just like, it's anyway. If you're
Yeah.
interested,
Yeah, if any of you guys are interested, you guys, we've had a lot of things going on in the last 5 years, you know? And we didn't have a whole lot of ways to process stuff, and, maybe this is a way you can do it, and come on out and join all of us. I will
in
I
person with people and the food.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, speaking of the food,
Oh,
it's
yeah, so I
homemade. Like the food at the Ark Retreat community, it's so good. It's like
steak and
you
lobster?
no.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know, maybe you they but, you know, they have, like, the vegetarian and the vegan and the gluten-free and all those things if people want that, right? But they also have the meat. But it's like but it tastes good. I'm sorry.
Not like the Long Lake Conservation Center we had to go to in elementary school?
Oh, but you and I would be here for another hour, so we're not gonna start that.
Yeah, we better not. This'll be for another night, or maybe on one of your podcasts or something. So,
Well,
yes,
yeah,
Kevin,
we
you can come.
you can come, Kevin. If you
Yeah,
wanna write, come write. Come
yeah.
write. Yeah.
He's gotta come up from Florida, but
Oh, well, buy your plane ticket.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brad. I really, really appreciate it, and such
Yeah.
an honor to be your first guinea pig slash guest on this conversation.
Hey, it's an honor to be your friend. I'm glad
Mm.
we've gotten to know each other in the last I don't wanna say how many years we've been around, but yes,
Last little bit.
right?
I'm getting it. Oh, oh, okay. Bad warning thing. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
My phone is buzzing, and I'm like, "Oh, bad." No,
Oh,
okay. We're not gonna
I,
announce it.
I'm gonna put the link to the retreat on this.
Please.
So,
Yeah, please do. I'm not sure if I've updated my website, but just put
okay.
it right here. That would be perfect. Thank
All right.
you.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Yeah, you bet. Have a great night.
You too.
All
Love you,
right.
Brad. Thank
Love you
you.
too. We'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye now. Oh, and thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you, Sarah, my sister Sarah. Thank you, Sandy. Thanks, Chuck and Kevin and Dwayne and Diane and everybody else that came out. I really like this. I like this platform. I love this software. It's going to be worth the $15 a month or whatever it is. Um, yeah, so I'm going to try to do this once a month, and we will. Um, I'm going to have a different creative on here: musicians, artists, painters, illustrators, designers, all kinds of people. If I can get them to come on here with me, and yeah, we're just going to talk shop and stuff like that. But anyhow, I I'm gonna have we're gonna have tunes on Tuesday next week, and that's at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. It's gonna be a free for all, so just I'm gonna be just playing songs, whatever I come up with. You guys want to hear some songs? I'll try them out and see if I can play them for you. And then Apocalypse Hump Day on Wednesday, we got a special guest. Um, Former Sergeant Jim West will be here with us, and we will be talking about his thoughts on a zombie apocalypse and what that would look like for the military response and stuff like that. So, should be a good time. He's really he's a lot of fun to sit and chat with. So, but thank you guys for showing up like you always do. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Appreciate the feedback and all that other stuff. And thank you for being patient as we grow here and are able to do more and more cool stuff like all of this. So I'm going to leave a link on here after I get done editing it. Leave a link for the writers retreat if you guys are interested. It is April 8th and it is up in well, not northern Minnesota, but it's about an hour north of the city. So if you guys want to do it, it's $150. You get food and all kinds of cool stuff. So anyhow, hopefully see you there. If not, I might do a little at least do some pictures from up there and show you guys what that's all about. So anyhow, talk to you later. Have a great night. Love you, drones. Have a great weekend and happy St. Patrick's Day to you.